Well, thanks, Fifi. WIF 2019 has been an interesting WIF. I think a very good WIF for South Africa. I think for me as well personally. It's been a busy WIF. I think for the South Africa Team SA, it's been a WIF where we've been really well received. I think last year we were here trying to ramp up confidence in our economy, but we didn't really have a lot to talk about and to build. I think this year we've come here as a team, a government delegation that's strong, led by the president, and a business delegation with a significant sense of confidence, that's certainly an emerging confidence that things are being done, they're being done in the right way, that our economy has a really strong chance at putting the last 9 years behind it, that the president and the team on the government side is delivering on the things that they're committed to delivering, and that we have a real chance at success. I think the investment summit last year has gone a long way to do that, the jobs summit, the fact that we're tackling corruption head on. And for myself personally, it's a busy time for me at the WEF. I sit on the International Business Council, which I've done, and I chaired for 2 years. It's a group of about 120 global senior business leaders, and that always takes up most of my Tuesday at the WEF. This year, the conversation very much focused on, the theme of the WEF, which is globalization 4.0, and what that means, and what the risks are out there. And actually, we also had the new president of Brazil come and address the IBC. But even in that group, lots of CEOs asking me what's going on in South Africa, are we making progress, a lot more interest and more positive feelings, lots of questions still about South Africa, but a sense that it's good to know that South Africa is making progress. And then I also had my first co-chairing of the United Nations Task Force. I've been asked by the Secretary General of the United Nations to co-chair a task force with Achim Steiner, who runs the United Nations Development Program, to co-chair a task force on digitization for financing, the SDGs, and that's quite exciting. It's very exciting for me, actually, and that's going to take up the next, that's going to run over the next 18 months, actually, and so that took up a lot of time. And it's very exciting. It's a very exciting task force.
Can I just jump in there, because this is also quite a significant WEF for Absa, in the sense that you guys are coming as a standalone for the very first time following the separation from Barclays. How has Absa been received at WEF, and what are some of the questions that you had to face?
Well, I was going to come to that. And so for Absa, this has been a phenomenal opportunity for us. Last year we were here, but it was just myself and a couple of colleagues. This year we are as a standalone bank, and we've gone big as Absa, as a Pan-African bank, as a South African bank. We took an early decision to take a place on the promenade, and for this week we are Absa and an African presence on the main promenade of Davos. We're the only African business with any visibility on this promenade. We've had the opportunity and the privilege with Brand SA to host a investment seminar, which the president addressed yesterday. But perhaps more importantly, we've received lots of our own clients here. As part of our strategy, we've wanted to bring Absa to Africa and Africa to Absa. I think we've delivered on that, and we'll continue to deliver on that. We've had a lot of our own meetings here in this space. We've been able, I hope, and I believe, to demonstrate that as a bank, we are able to be at the cutting edge of what global financial markets are about, but actually also as an African continent, that we not only have phenomenal sunshine, which we have been able to even bring in here with technology into this fantastic space, and great coffee and great chocolates and great craftsmanship, because we've been able to bring one of our young entrepreneurs with us to demonstrate that. But we've also been able to bring, just to demonstrate that we have in the area of financial services, we're a great institution, and that Africa has got great financial markets and great financial institutions, and that investors can come to Africa and can come to a bank like Absa and can really transact on our continent. So I'm delighted that we are here and we were able to do that this week.
I mean, of course, we were just discussing about the Financial Markets Index into its second year. For those of the viewers on CNBC Africa who weren't able to tune into that discussion, just remind us again the importance of ABSA commissioning or standing behind this index, and what the end game is for an index such as this.
Well, we took a decision actually 2 years ago, or a little bit longer than that, because the index was published for the first time in 2017, that if we really want to finance investment and infrastructure investment across the continent and private sector investment across the continent, we need, solid and liquid financial markets. And so the financial infrastructure across our continent is fundamentally important. And in order to do that, we need good data. We need to know where the gaps are effectively, and how we become competitive in financial markets when we compare our markets to other parts of the world, particularly emerging markets. I'm not even talking about developed, well-established capital markets in developed markets. We just lag, and so we decided to do something about it. And so we've worked with OMFIF to build a database and to develop an index that looks across 20 countries on the continent at what are those core components. And the index looks at 6 pillars, as we saw earlier on, but it looks at 6 pillars across financial markets in 20 countries, and says, there's lots of things that are important, but perhaps these are the most important things. And if we invest in those, and this is where we are at the moment, and if we continue to make progress in these, we're going to be able to become increasingly more competitive. And these are things like our foreign exchange markets and how they work. These are our domestic bond markets. These are our stock exchanges. These are the way our pension markets work. So I think those are the kinds of areas that the index looks at, the pillars that the index looks at, and then documentation, for example, and tracks. It's got a starting point, which was 2017, and then it tracks progress against those and ranks countries according to that. And it's becoming more and more of a tool that policymakers and private sector players in the markets in the countries are adopting in order to measure progress. And we hope that it's a tool that can be used by everybody. It's free. It's online, you can download it and you can have a look at it, and it's got huge amounts of data. The data is independent, and that's why we've also worked with another party to collect it. And I think because the financial markets are such an important part of the infrastructure, and more, our ability to fund investment and to attract investment, foreign investment, but domestic investment is fundamentally important to growth and sustainable growth and development on our continent.
I mean, so we're still at the start of the new year and January. Everybody's taking a view on what the rest of the year is going to look like. I'm interested in the view that you are taking as Absa Group for 2019. I mean, quite a lot happening. Major elections coming up in some of your key markets. What's your view on how this year could possibly look for the group? What are you worried about, and how are you preparing for it?
Well, I think what we've also heard here in Davos is that this is going to be a difficult and challenging year globally, as we've seen the IMF revise downwards growth projections for the global economy and for sub-Saharan Africa generally. I think there's huge amounts of tension in the world out there. I don't think we're immune to that, and we also will feel the consequences of that. I mean, our world on our continent is subjected to all of those external forces, and we're very much buffeted by by those, and impacted, not buffeted, impacted by those. But I think for us as Absa, I think our focus is to continue with our strategy. We've put in place a strategy which is very much focused on growth, on looking for opportunities. And I think, country by country, the opportunities are there. I'm hoping that in a place like South Africa, where there is going to be an election which is going to be quite contested, I think the focus is going to have to be on growth. And I'm hoping that the election will be the election, and then we'll get back to that growth agenda. The country needs to get back to a sustainable growth agenda that's focused on job creation and dealing with poverty and inequality. I think the important thing, wherever these elections, and there are quite a few elections taking place, is that elections are dealt with. They're dealt with within a process, and that that they are peaceful, and that ultimately we get back to that growth agenda. And certainly for Absa, as I say, we've got a strategy which is based on growth, looking for the opportunities, and we've got the right teams in place in our businesses. In every country we're in, we've got strong businesses, so I'm confident that we'll deliver on the commitments we have made.